Welcome to the Homeless Landlord podcast, episode number 2 with me, Manuk. This podcast is about me, a traveling full-time nomad who's a landlord with a goal to reach every country on earth. I am 1 week away from departure, and I am exhausted, mentally exhausted with all the emotions I've been going through, thinking about what it's going to be like to travel the world with an indefinite timeline. And that's why I wanted to create a podcast now, because I wanted to share some of these thoughts as maybe a form of self-therapy and possibly a form of maybe I can talk my way into a clearer head by the end of this episode. And I don't want to make it super long. I simply want to talk about the emotions I'm feeling. And yeah, those emotions include all the emotions, all the feelings. By the way, this is my first video podcast, and I'm recording on 2 different devices. I have landscape mode in front of me here, and then I have portrait mode in front of me here. The idea is to hopefully upload full episodes on Spotify and potentially YouTube, and to upload clips on Instagram and maybe TikTok. I'm not much of a TikToker, but yeah, I feel like I should probably tick the talk a little bit. And I have a microphone here that's clipped onto a Wheat Thins box. Yeah, I figured you should know that. And as I'm traveling, I plan to do different episodes in different countries. And there's not always going to be a box of Wheat Thins available. So we'll see how that goes. But so I am leaving in 1 week. I'm leaving on Election Day 2024 here in the US, which is Tuesday, November 5th. I am taking a bus out of Philadelphia, my hometown, into Nueva York, and I'll be flying from JFK International to London, which I just realized I have an overnight layover. I do that all the time. I book flights without paying attention to anything. So why would you take travel advice from me anyway? Kidding, not kidding. But overnight layover in London, and then I'm going to land in Marrakesh, Morocco, which will be my 60th country. Again, at the time of this video, I've been to 59 countries and 50 states. And I want to visit all 193 or 195 or 197, depending on the country count metric you're going with. Maybe I'll get into that at the end of this episode. I don't know. I'll see how I feel. I'm just going to go with the vibes. Yeah, and the vibes have been, super mixed emotions. Listen, I'm human, I'm vulnerable, and I mean, I'm realizing that there are so many more emotions that I would be feeling before this trip than I anticipated. Happiness, excitement, nervousness, fear. I feel like I'm getting tickled by like a chicken. No, that's not. That's maybe a little bit. But I'm feeling all sorts of the whole spectrum of emotions I've been feeling. And I think a lot of that is mostly revolved around the fear of the unknown. Because no matter how much experience you have as a traveler or as whatever it is you're getting into, if you're taking that to another level, there's going to be fears involved. And if I dive deeper into those fears, it's not so much that I'm scared. It's not so much that I'm nervous. I'm more like anxious of sorry. So I'm starting the trip in Morocco and then working my way south from the west coast of Africa. So Morocco's a very tourist friendly. I think it's either number 1 or 2 to Egypt as far as how much tourism it gets in Africa. Like the most touristy country in Africa is either Morocco or Egypt or South Africa. No, Morocco. I think it's Morocco. No concern there. I mean, just regular travel stuff. There's always, there's always risks. There's always things you have to be alert about. You have to do your research on what to do, where to go, how to treat the locals, how to talk to, how to carry yourself. If there's certain cultural differences, it's always good to know these things, right? But immediately after Morocco, I'm going south into. Well, I'm driving into Western Sahara, which is a disputed territory. It's claimed to be part of Morocco, but it's not. It's a disputed territory. So immediately after that, I plan to fly into Mauritania, and that's kind of where the challenges start for me, who's never been to a Sahelian country. Sahelian countries are, I believe, Mauritania, Chad, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, Mali. They're these gigantic desert countries are that don't have much. Well, they have their cities, and they don't have. They have outside of they have villages, and out they have lots of struggles, malnutrition struggles, high poverty. And of course, in Africa, you're not supposed to drink the tap water as a visitor. So I think my top concern, or I think my top attributing factor to why I'm feeling the fear of the unknown is mostly linked to malnutrition. Because here, as an American, I have access to everything I need and want. I could just buy whatever, and yeah, I can buy crappy foods. I can buy great foods. It's all completely in my power. Um, well, I'm very blessed. I'm very lucky to have that option. Um, I realize that more so on a global scale, where many in this beautiful planet of ours don't have that option. So I'm giving that up right away by entering a country like Mauritania, and then from there I'm going to be overlanding a lot of countries. So I still haven't figured out the specifics of where I'm overlanding. I've kind of I've kind of factored out certain countries which you should not overland into, but for the most part, overlanding means renting or hiring private cars, taxis that are most likely very older. They're much older cars, maybe inoperable air conditioning. Where again, as an American, that's where you. So like the changes in nutrition and in climate and how that will affect my body and my mental and my physical state is really a lot of where these fears lie. And it's when I decided to take this trip, I sort of designed for me to start in Morocco and work my way into some of these more challenging countries, so that I can immediately address these unknown circumstances and really test my willpower on whether or not I'm built to live this lifestyle. I've done 80 days across Europe. I've done 277 days across the U.S. So long-term travel is not anything new to me. Um, and also in both of those cases, I had a deadline. I had a timeline. I had like, all right, I'm getting back by this time. In this particular case, I don't have that deadline, which I think actually helps my mental. It's more like, all right, I don't have to feel like I'm rushed. I don't have to feel like I have to be here by this time. I have to rush through this country. That aspect of things I like, and I think if anything helps my mental, because I can also like tap out if I need to, which is not. By the way, I'm sort of going into this like I've never committed like a crime. I don't have a background, but I'm sort of going into this as if I'm going to prison. I'm thinking to myself, dude, you got to go in this with the mindset of you're stuck. Like it's not that I'm stuck. It's not that I am going through the torture of staying in a prison cell. Far from that. This is completely done by my own freedom and my own will and my own stupidity. And um um I'm looking at that from an angle of, dude, they're locking you up for a long time. Simply so I can push through the most difficult times of this trip instead of tapping out immediately, telling myself, bro, you're out here, like that's it, like you're stuck, keep going. And I think by addressing that immediately and hitting some of these countries like Mauritania and Burkina Faso and Mali, I think that really pushes me to the limits immediately. And if I can get through the beginning stages, which I think I'd be clear of some of, I think I'd be into some of the more greener, cleaner, safer environments. If everything goes as planned in approximately 2.5, probably maybe longer, maybe 3 months or so. When you get towards like the South African countries, a little bit like Namibia, Botswana, they tend to be a little bit more tourist friendly, a little bit more like the governments are a little bit more people are more happy with the governments. They're not. Yeah. So it was sort of by design to start the trip this way. But now that I'm close to starting the trip, the fear of the unknown is kicking in a little bit. So um, so yeah, how do we cope with that? Well, we prepare, we research as much as possible. Some of those things I've been doing to research, obviously blogs. I mean, it's mostly all online, obviously. Like, there's no other way for me to possibly research what's going on across the world. Online, talking to people. Some of the resources I use online are Reddit threads of like using Mauritania, like going specifically to the Mauritania subreddit and speaking to the locals there, and trying to get some local resources, whether that's a taxi driver, a tour guide, whether that's somebody who's just willing to talk about their culture and the community and offer some tips and whatever it may be. So yeah, like Reddit and TripAdvisor also has good forums for that. Yeah, and simply just sort of researching and doing as much as you can to get the pulse of the place you're going to, especially if it's a place that is not set up, that just doesn't have the infrastructure for lots of tourism. Um, so yeah, being a week away, those feelings are kicking in. But I know that once I'm out there, once I'm in the groove of things, I think I don't know. I don't know anything. I'm not a guy that knows stuff. So I think and I hope and I pray that once I'm out there and I'm in the groove of things, that things will go uh, as good as they can. Um, it's when I took that 277 night trip across the U.S. It was so smooth, but this is not that. Um, this is definitely not that. Mauritania is not Kansas, and yeah, I'm so excited. Like, the things I'm actually going to be looking forward to doing and learning about the culture, trying the foods, exploring certain territories, I couldn't be more excited about. And just the fact that I don't have to come back. I can just keep, I mean, I don't have to come back at a certain time. I can just keep going. And that things are going to be handled here in terms of the landlording stuff for the most part. I'll still be doing some things from overseas for sure. I'll still be involved. But yeah, and then trying to focus on staying on that goal of getting to every country within $100,000 and like averaging about $500 per country, which is something I'm very keen on. And I mean, again, some countries will be more expensive than others. Like Morocco, I spent $215 on a one-way ticket. Um, it's finding these deals and using Google Flights and Skyscanner and like using a VPN to change your location to try to find cheaper flights. There's so many different tactics, things you can use, using credit card miles, opening up credit cards. I have a lot of credit cards, and I, personal and business, and I open up at least two a year, and I take advantage of the welcome miles or bonus that they offer. Spend X amount of money and get X amount of points, and I book a lot of flights like that. So these are things that are going to be at the forefront during this trip. Trying to do things efficiently, financially efficient, and both in a reasonable timeline, to where I'm leaving every country satisfied. Like, I did as much as I wanted to do. I've contributed to my own personal goals, and maybe I've been able to make a difference. I love meeting locals and having conversations, and who knows where that could lead to. Opening doors, and yeah. So, um, 1 week ago, I was 2 weeks away from leaving, and now I'm 1 week away from leaving. So 1 week ago are when these feelings really started to kick in. And they were tough in the beginning, but now I'm coping. Now I'm starting to realize that, like, dude, you're good. You're well traveled. You know how to get through situations. We can adapt to things, and these are all things you need. Like, look, I'm a regular dude who's got an insane dream in mind, and I can't stop until I hit that goal. And literally anybody can do that. But in order to get to that point where you have something that means so much to you that you're willing to do almost whatever it takes to get there, you have to understand your own value. You have to have self-respect and self-worth. You have to understand your value, and you have to do things with a clear mind. And I've worked very hard to do some of those things. And there are various methods. There's meditation, there's self-reflection, there's taking time away from society to get to go to some place that's quiet and just let your mind just like hear your thoughts and emotions and really allow yourself to be vulnerable to yourself. There's therapy that I haven't done therapy yet, but I feel like I feel like I and anybody could benefit from therapy. But there are many things you can do to really understand your value, right? Like what your value is, what your purpose is, what you're meant to do. And once you realize that, and once you develop the ability to just completely ignore what society would have to say about you, because you weren't born in this, you were not born to satisfy society. You were born to as an individual, and as an individual you have your own personal goals, you have your own personal way of thinking about things, and sometimes we get blinded by that. So in order for me to have recentered myself with these thoughts and emotions that I've been having, I've circled back to my own self-worth and my self-value, and the fact that I've never in my life, I've never given to anything or anybody. I've never settled for anything less than I think that I deserve. Doesn't mean I think I'm better than anybody. It simply means that all right, I know what I'm capable of and willing to do and what I enjoy doing, and those are the things I'm going to try to stay in my own lane about, because I really do firmly believe that we are not able to fully give back to others and love others at our maximum capacity until we've done that for ourselves. So I've given myself the ability to, and I've given myself the permission to become refocused on why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I want to visit every country. And it's sort of minimized all those little emotions and thoughts I've been having. So those feelings are still there. The fear of the unknown is still there. You can do as much subreddit research as you want. You're not going to know what you're going to feel until you're in that situation, until you're traveling long term, right? When I say you, I mean me. But yeah, so I just wanted to share some of these feelings. Like, if there is something that if you are ever having doubts about something that you've decided to do, right, which is the exact situation I'm in. I haven't had doubts, I've just had fears. So if you've ever had fears and doubts, let's just put them together. If you had fears and doubts about something that you've already decided to do and have shifted your life completely to try to get to that goal, just keep reminding yourself why you started, and keep like, never lose the determination and the willpower you have. Maintain that godlike ability that you have been training yourself to have, to go out there and do something, because yeah, I mean, the best things in life are built by creators, and by, if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're, the best things in life come from people who just want to step outside of the societal box of what's normal and what's not. And traveling and nomad traveling, backpacking, these things are much more common now than they ever have been. So I'm not doing anything that's insane. I'm not doing something that's so unique. It's definitely outside of the norm, for sure. I'm leaving my life behind and just trying to get to every country I can. I'm just gonna go as far as I can go, and then we'll see what happens. Sure, but it's not completely impossible. It's not, and I want to continue to keep focusing on that as I'm doing these podcasts. Now, this is only the second episode, and I haven't left yet. I leave in a week, so the goal is to just simply, I'm kind of just building up to what's about to come. But as we get, like, I want to do one more episode before I actually leave. I'm hoping to do it next. I'm hoping to do it the Monday before I leave. And I'll jump. I want to talk a little bit more about some of the practical things. Like, I want to talk about all the things I'm packing, and maybe get a little bit more into the whole distinction between the country counts, because that's something that I find very fascinating. And yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy it. Like, I plan to do that episode, and then my next episode after that, so episode number 4, if I get episode number 3 in on time. Episode number 4 will be when I'm out in the trenches. I'll be in, probably in, like, again, the goal is one a week. So if I have a 10-day timeline in Morocco, so Morocco / Western Sahara, independent state, maybe not. So yeah, maybe I'll start right away from one weekend and share with you guys how my first week has gone in Morocco, from Morocco, and then we'll just keep it going. So yeah, that's really all I have to say on this episode. I am very much excited, above and beyond any other feelings I'm having. I'm anticipating this. I continue to understand how blessed I am to have this, to be able to have this opportunity to just go at will. And I'm looking forward to making a lot more of these episodes. And I'm looking forward to having guests one day. Can't wait for that to happen. But in the meantime, thanks a lot again for listening to this podcast, whether it's on Spotify or YouTube, wherever it is. And if you did like the episode, I would really love it if you followed me. And you can keep up with where I am at any given time. And you can find me on Instagram, probably on TikTok, maybe on YouTube, and share it with your friends. And also hit the like button so that helps me with the algorithm. I will see you next time. See you later.